You're watching Better Business Bureau's Business at its Best, brought to you by Ataraxis. You've got employees, we've got solutions, human resources, insurance, benefits, and payroll. Our business is your business. BBB's Business at its Best.
How often have you been blown away by outstanding customer service? Seem like it's a rare occasion? It doesn't have to be. Dale Dixon here with Better Business Bureau. Welcome to Business at its Best. On today's show, we show you how companies in Idaho go above and beyond expectations to create a wow factor. First, great client care is based on great relationships. Author and speaker Dave Lakhani joins us with a few ways your company can really stand out in the online world. Also on tap today, can customer service be boiled down to a few numbers? We're going to tell you what 1333-612 could mean for your company as we look at it by the numbers. And also, we're going to take you inside one company where the business didn't make a dime yet, but it has a customer for life because of the service. Business at its best is possible because of our media partners. We're on great stations, including Eastern Idaho's Local News 8's Now channel and Southern and Western Idaho's KTVB, Idaho's very own 24/7. You know, Ataraxis makes this program possible each week. The company takes care of the day-to-day work of HR, benefits, and payroll, so a business owner can focus on growing business. Dave Lakhani, the author of How to Sell When Nobody's Buying and Persuasion, the Art of Getting What You Want, joins us. Dave, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for
also
having me.
with Ataraxis. Just before the show, we were talking about this idea of how do you manage a reputation and offer tremendous customer service in the online world.
It seems like it would be really difficult, but it was funny. I asked my daughter, who's 8 years old, on the way over here, I said, you know, what would we do to make sure that you have a good customer experience? What would you do to make sure people were treated well? And she said, well, the first thing is don't lie to people. And it's really funny because as consumers and as people generally, you know, one of the big fallacies we fall into is if it's online, it's true, whether that's good or that's bad. And so we've seen a predominance of things like Yelp and Angie's List and companies like this that take customers' experiences and let them present those experiences to other people before they buy. So that reputation management piece is very, very important. But reputation management doesn't start with what somebody's written on a blog or what they've written in a review site. Reputation management actually starts with an interaction with a customer. So
the behavior is behavior based, and it's
absolutely
really as simple as your daughter said.
Yes, don't
Tell
lie.
the truth.
Yeah. And so that's where you start. And then the way you do that is you present people with an experience that is so much better than they expected. You set an expectation of how they'll be treated and exceed that expectation every time, and people will feel really good. And it's as simple as not lying. It's as simple as setting proper expectations of what people should expect. It's then meeting those expectations. But you know what? We're talking about reputation management. What we're really talking about is branding too, because brands are simply the accumulation of people's thoughts, experiences, and interactions with you. So if we can do that online or offline by treating people well, setting the right expectations, delivering on the expectation, we'll always have good customer service.
And it's interesting, I was talking with some real estate agents, a few real estate agents, just after the bubble burst. And these two were selling houses when nobody else was buying.
Wow.
One of your favorite terms.
That's great.
And I said, so exactly, you know, what are you doing? What's different? And they looked at me like I was crazy to ask such a question. They said, it's really simple. We just tell the truth.
Right.
Which works whether you're in an up economy, a down economy. People want and will migrate toward those who tell the truth, and it gives them something to talk about.
They want you to cut through the hype, and they want you to cut through all the fluff. You know, people oftentimes believe that in order to sell something, they've got to constantly create this, you know, this giant cloud of mystery or this big amount of hype and hyperbole around whatever it is they're selling. And what people really want to know is, here's my problem, will it solve it, and will you stand behind it? And if you can answer those three questions properly and positively, people will do business with you. Honestly, right. They're going to do business with you, and they're going to feel well served.
Step number one to excellent customer care is just being honest.
That's it.
Telling the truth. Dave Lakhani, thank you so much for being with us today. And coming up next on Business at its Best, the importance of the first impression in creating a lasting impression to keep customers coming back for more. First, we're going to go inside one Southern Idaho spa dealer for a look at customer service by the numbers, literally. You're watching Business at its Best, presented by Ataraxis. Welcome back to Business at its Best. We're on TV in great Idaho towns from Ashton to Bennington, Hazelton to Marsing, and all along the Snake River. On today's show, we're focused on customer service. If you're the customer, it's what to watch for. If you're the business, what you should be doing. We took Better Business Bureau's cameras into Snake River Pool and Spa in Twin Falls for a conversation with owner Jim Paxton and learned a valuable lesson about creating a system for great customer care.
Putting the customer first, and how we do that is by caring and following up after the sale and or the service, make sure we've met their expectations, and if we haven't, we want to know why and take care of it, and take care of it in a timely manner. Well, we have processes in place that, and we refer to these processes by numbers, 1333. And when the number one would be is after the day of the delivery of the product, we call them. 3 days after, 3 weeks after, 3 months, and then we have what we call 612. That's at 6 months, and then at the anniversary date on on the 12th month. No, these are personal follow-up phone calls. These are to get a hold of content, and then we record that information to make sure that we review it to make sure that we are collecting that data and using it and making it useful for us, so that we know how to better take care of our customers then later to the next customer. So we learn from our existing base of customers what we can do better for the next customer. Well, on that first call, that first day, one of the things that's real important to us is to make sure that we delivered everything that we were supposed to have that met their expectations. And we have a checklist that we go through when we deliver the goods with the customer to make sure that everything was delivered, and if there's anything that needed to be taken care of, it's noted on the paperwork, that paperwork's turned in. But one of the things that is always a question is how good or how valuable is that warranty of that product? And we've put in place, and we've had this for a number of years, we call it WFC, warranty follow-up call. So when the expiration of that product is coming out of the time the expiration of the warranty is going to expire, call that customer at least 3 months in advance or somewhere in that range of time and ask to come out to their home and do an evaluation of their product, because we want to let them know that if there is a issue with that spa and it can be or should be covered under that terms of the warranty, we take care of it. With no obligation for anything, just other than check it, and we say yes, and they're amazed. And they're blown away. It's the little things, and it's keeping track and taking care of your customers. One of the things that's real important is training, and one of the things we do every month is we have what we refer to as our spa team meetings, and this is in both of our locations in Boise and Twin Falls. We go over things that we learn from our follow-up from our customers, and then we implement different things through our training processes. And they're asked to keep those things written down so that they can bring them up in the meetings. And of course, if anything that's more important than that, to bring up, before that time. But training is the key. And you got to be consistent with it. And the bottom line is it's customer satisfaction. It means referrals. And the biggest part of our business comes from referrals and repeat customers who we've done business with for 34 years now. Is obviously if a customer is satisfied, they're going to be telling their friends, family members, and coworkers. If they're not satisfied, they're not going to be telling them the good things. They're going to be telling them the bad things.
And a quick recap on Jim Paxton's customer follow-up system. Remember, 13, 33, and then 612. So it's 1 day after delivery, they get a phone call. Then it's 1 day after delivery, they get a phone call. 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, and then 6 months, and on the anniversary date. And of course, that follow-up call just before the warranty expires. You can see how they can get some customers for life. And coming up next, Mollie Sweet with Northwest Nazarene University joins us for a few more ideas on creating a culture of great customer care. Then later, on the phone or at the door, making an impression that matters in creating a long-term relationship. You're watching Business at its Best, presented by Ataraxis. Welcome back. Better Business Bureau has 6 standards for trust. It's how we expect ethical businesses to act in the marketplace. Take a look at these. We expect a business to advertise honestly. And after that, they should be telling you the truth across the counter. And then the business needs to be transparent in the way they work with you. Also, being responsive. If something goes wrong, they need to be right there on top of it. Safeguarding your privacy, critical for a company. And finally, honor promises all the way through. Those are the BBB standards for trust. If you're a customer, it's what to watch for. If you own or manage a business, it's how to behave. And we're showing you how Idaho's top companies provide amazing customer service today. It's what to watch for as you are out and about working with these companies. And today we're going to focus on this segment on how an accountant can be perceived as oftentimes hidden in the back room, but they have a tremendous opportunity to interact with customers, and that means they have a critical role to play with customer service. Mollie Sweet with Northwest Nazarene University joins us today to talk about this idea of really accountants and those working behind the scenes. I think this can work with anybody who's not right there face to face with a customer, can think about themselves working with as a customer service person. But what are some direct communication opportunities that accountants or these people behind the scenes have?
Sure, it's just as simple as picking up the phone and answering customer phone calls or issues with a vendor, but it's taking the time to be prompt with those phone calls and to speak courteously and just to create a relationship that you never know when that's going to be needed in the future. So any interaction with anyone, whether inside the company or outside the company, is a customer service opportunity for an accountant.
Why should people be thinking that way? Why do they need to have that customer service mentality when they're away? I mean, we know it, but I can hear the person watching saying, I'm not dealing with them. I'm not going to think of a vendor as a customer.
Sure, you just never know when your interactions are going to matter.
Absolutely.
And so it's the relationship that you're building, and one of the ways that matters is that as an accountant, if you create a relationship with a vendor, that means taking the time on the phone just to talk to them, see how they're doing, how their business is going. Creating that relationship can come back to help your company in the long run. Let's say you're in a cash crunch and you need a little extra time. If you've created that relationship with your vendor, they may understand and extend your line of credit for a while.
And there's always this thing we call a referral.
Absolutely.
And if the vendor comes across an opportunity to refer a company with somebody who has some great people working on their behalf in the back room, so to speak, the accountant, it's a terrific opportunity for those folks. Let's talk about this idea of paying the bills, and that paying a bill on time can actually be a form of customer service.
Sure, just paying your bills on time shows that you respect your vendors and you respect the business they're trying to operate. And believe me, vendors know who pays their bills on time and who doesn't.
Absolutely. And they keep track of those kind of things, even if it's just a subconscious mental checklist.
And again, it can come back to help you if your company's in a cash crunch and you need a little help.
Absolutely. Mollie Sweet, NNU, thank you so much for being with us today, talking about what's going on behind the scenes and how it applies to great customer service. You know, Better Business Bureau has a number of resources to help your company be the best it can be. Check out our website at bbb.org. You can also go to Facebook, search for BBB Snake River Region, and click the like button. And coming up later on Business at its Best, what does a free tire get you? And how about a customer for life? See the story soon. First, when a restoration company responds to a potential customer, they find that person in some of the worst situations. It's fire, flood, sewer backups. That's why first impressions are crucial. See how it's done right when we return. You are watching Business at its Best, presented by Ataraxis. You know, people like to tell Better Business Bureau about problems, but when someone stops me to tell me about an Idaho company that really wowed them with amazing customer service, I tell you what, that gets my attention. And that's exactly what happened when someone told me about UltraClean. Owner Brandon Wright joins us. Brandon, thanks so much for being with us today. And we were having this conversation about the importance of first impressions and what it means. And I think it's fascinating from your standpoint because you're running into people in the worst circumstances possible when they give you a call. So what does a first impression mean when the toilet's overflowing and your person is at the door?
Well, every customer, when we get done a job with them, we ask them, how was your experience? And they say, it was wonderful, but we don't ever want to see you again, Brandon. And that's not because we don't take it personally. They just don't want to have another disaster. And the emotional trauma, when your house is flooded or you wake up in the middle of the night and there's 4 inches of water, there's nothing great about it.
Yeah.
And it is our job to show up quick. We have to be fast, and we got to make sure that we're there with a calming effect. Bring that emotions down to a level where they can feel at peace.
When we are in the middle of delivering a service or a product as a business owner, somebody who's managing a business, oftentimes we can just fall into a routine every day, go through the motions, so to speak. How do you take it above just going through the motions so that everybody that you meet for the first time has that kind of unique experience?
Well, I think we can all become immune to our jobs. And when we become immune to our jobs, we're not effective anymore. And so the nice thing about our industry is there's a lot of adrenaline going, and we have to figure out, how do we remove the water from the house? How do we get this clean and sanitary? How do we find...
How do you stop it?
Yeah, how do we stop the damage from occurring any further? How do we take those sentimental items? Because that's what means the most to the individuals. How do you recognize that when they may not be even coherent of what's going on because they're overwhelmed? And that's really the challenges that we face.
But first impressions, they can happen on the phone when that person calls you. It happens obviously face to face when your person is at the door. So how do you work with your employees to be sure that they're prepped for those first impressions, whether it's in person or over the phone, even through email?
I would like to think that when someone calls our office and their house is flooded, that we're going to have the initiative to say, feel confident in us. This is how we're responding. We're making immediate decisions, and we're going to be there quickly. If we're not, and we don't take them seriously, if we don't respond to their needs, they're going to be sitting around where hours or minutes feel like hours. And so the phone call, you got to have a very compassionate individual answering the phone. Second thing, answering in the door. You got to have someone who's well groomed, no tattoos. We're going through people's personal belongings. They got to feel comfortable with that individual.
Trustworthy.
Exactly, yep. And that individual needs to be able to focus, look at them in the eye, make sure they speak to them, ask the right questions, the important questions. And it's not what we think is important, it's about what they think is important. And those impressions, that is what makes or breaks the job.
Now, we spent some time at the beginning of the show talking about how the follow-up is so important when we heard from Snake River Pool and Spa about following up the day after, the 3 days after, 3 months after, 6 months after. Is it possible for somebody to have that level of follow-up and overcome maybe a bad first impression?
It is. You can always turn around something that's gone wrong, because I don't care what kind of business you're in, you're going to screw up at some point, your people are going to screw up. It's how do we make it right? And one of the things that I believe is the number one step to building that relationship, whether you've screwed up or you're doing great, is communication. I want to communicate to my customers every single day. And if I do that, if something screws up, they're already comfortable with me, we can talk about it, and it's not so alarming.
Open lines of communication. Brandon Wright, UltraClean Pro, the company, thanks so much for being with us today, sharing some insight from your side of the business. And next on Business at its Best, the letter arrived at BBB's office telling the story of how one man heard a thumping noise after driving over railroad tracks. A quick stop at a tire store for a run-of-the-mill fix led him to become a lifelong customer. You'll see the story when we return. You are watching Business at its Best, presented by Ataraxis. Welcome back to Business at its Best. We're spending this time showing you how companies in Idaho work to attract and keep customers. Call it customer service. It's all about memorable experiences and great client care. You know, one tire store created that experience that left such a mark, the customer wrote a letter to Better Business Bureau sharing the experience.
As far as the letter we received, you know, it just goes to show what we do every day is still recognized by the customers. We're trying to keep everything positive, and we don't want to, you know, go down the road of, you know, unhappy customers. We want to keep everybody happy. We can't really teach that, you know, that's coming, you know, from how they're raised. You know, hard work always pays off, and then the harder the work goes, the harder you want to work. If management's positive and we're eager and always going, and obviously the honesty part, you know, it flows down to the crew, and it's a very simple process as far as that goes, because they just basically do what we do. Without the customers, we wouldn't be here. And when we get letters like that, it's great to get them. We hear it all the time, but to have somebody write a letter, you know, goes even further. You know, we go over it with the crew and the person that got the letter, but it's what we do every day. So is it a surprise? No, but it is nice when the customer writes a letter, because we hear it all the day, how fast we are, how, you know, honest we are. And trust is everything. You know, being honorable about what we do and what we sell and stand behind is everything we're about. You know, we are the most trustworthy company I believe, in our business in everywhere. You know, honesty is the best policy. There's no reason to go anywhere else, because it always catches up to you. So if you're honest, you never have to worry about it. We strive ourselves on the service part of it, and all we ask the customers to come back. You know, for us to provide a service and help a customer, especially these days where, you know, everybody's everything's so expensive, and if we can give a customer a break on something and say, hey, you know, if the rotation was $25 and we give it to them for free, hey, let's lunch on us today. Enjoy your lunch. You know, we want them to be able to come in here and feel comfortable. You know, send from their, you know, son, daughter, wife, mother, to come in here and get the same service or the same honest service every time they come in. If something bad comes across, there's usually an explanation for it. You know, do we get them? Absolutely. We're not perfect. But if there is a situation that arises and we have to deal with the customer, we just do everything we possibly can to make sure they're happy. We literally will ask them, what will make you happy? You know, it's a pretty simple deal. If there's if we can't figure it out, we ask the customer. You know, a lot of times they want to just let us know what they need, and it's a real simple philosophy. And if we can achieve that goal for them, we will.
Now, here's a quick recap of what we learned on today's show about the importance of providing great customer care. First, we heard how a spa company created a system to take the guesswork out of customer service. The 13-33-612 process means a phone call follow-up on those specific dates after a purchase, following up to be sure the customer is, as we heard them say, in love with the spa. Then think about attracting customers being like dating. First impressions are everything. Finally, do your employees have the training to make crucial decisions and freedom to give away a product or service to make a customer for life? It's a great question to ask yourself. Thank you so much for being with us for this edition of Business at its Best. We'll see you right back here on the same station next week at this time for another edition. Make it a great week. Start with trust. Start your search for great businesses in Idaho at bbb.org.